Can we begin first just with some reaction from you to yesterday's news about Sandro Tonali, a 2-month suspended ban and a fine from the FA, but we know that as it stands he will still be able to return to playing at the end of August when his current ban ends.
Yeah, I think it's the right decision. I think the FA have arrived at the ban isn't extended. Sandro is currently working hard behind the scenes. He's trained very well. But as always, as I've said many times, referring to this situation, we're still supporting him and helping him as he serves this time.
With one suspension that he's serving and the threat of another one until yesterday hanging over him, how has he been mentally?
He's been very good. He's been very consistent. Of course, I see a small fraction of his life. You know, I see the time that he's at the training ground, and he's a very good professional. He's trained very well. He's still relatively quiet within the group, but I think that's just his personality. That's not in a negative way. That's just he's really focused on his football, on improving his game. So you wouldn't necessarily see what's going on beneath the surface. And I'm sure he's had really difficult moments in the past few months. He's had days where he's felt worse than others, but he's conducted himself in a really positive way.
And less than 4 months until he can play again competitively for you. Are you seeing that hunger there to return? Because it's been a long time.
Well, I've seen that hunger there all through the time because he's trained at a really good level, and as I said, he's done a lot of work on his own because there's times where we've been preparing for games and he hasn't needed the training that we've done building into those games. So a lot of individual work, a lot of fitness work, of course, gym work. We've worked on his speed. We've covered loads of aspects of his game to try and help him and utilise the time in a positive way.
On to injuries. How is Fabian Schär?
Yeah, Fabian, I think will miss a period of time out with a minor hamstring problem, but he won't be available tomorrow, and I doubt we'll see him again this season.
And has Miguel Almiron now returned to training?
Yes, so we've had McGee return, we've had Joelinton return to training this week. Their first steps back into full team training. We've also seen that with Nick Pope as well. So it's been a really good week to have 3 experienced quality players back, and it's certainly given us a big lift.
3 different players, 3 different injuries. Do they have individually any chance of making the squad for Burnley?
We'll see after today. I've got to make the right decisions for them individually, the right decisions for the team. We certainly don't want to, because respectively they've been out different time lengths, but they've had significant injuries, so we need to make sure we get this call right.
You haven't had the success away from home this season that you would have liked, so how do you feel about the fact that 3 of your 4 remaining matches are going to be on the road?
We'd like it flipped the other way if possible. Our home form's been really good, and our away form hasn't. We're well aware of that. I think we've always had our eye on this period towards the end of the season. We knew we had the extra game was an away game, which changes the dynamic. 3 away games and 1 at home. But for me, I've always tried to, in management, focus on the game, not where it's played. And I think I urge the players to do the same. It's a game of football. We're a very good team and we're fluent and at our best. And in the last few games, we've had flashes of us at our very best. I want that for 95 minutes if we can.
And what about Burnley? Because they've been on a pretty good run recently and they've given themselves a really decent chance of staying up, haven't they? I think they're only 2 points from safety now.
Yeah, an interesting team, Burnley, because of how they play. I think Vincent's done a really, really good job. I think he's been very true to his principles, and they are very expansive, play a really attractive style of football. They've not deviated from that all season, despite some difficult periods for them. I think they deserve a lot of credit for that. I think the manager deserves a lot of credit for his strength of identity. And I think they're reaping the rewards of that in this period now towards the end of this season. I think it's 1 defeat in 8. They've been consistent. And I know Turf Moor very well. I know it's a difficult place to go for any team. So we'll be ready for the game.
Thanks, Rosa. Keith?
Eddie, the FA said in their written reasons yesterday that it was extraordinary and unprecedented what Sandro did in terms of his self-referral. What does that say about him and how he's coming back from this?
Well, yeah, I think he instantly, when this whole thing started, I think he was very keen to sort of hold his hands up and help everybody sort of uncover it all. And he was very sorry for what he'd done. Admitted he had issues, he needed help. I think he deserves credit for that, because it's not easy to, when you're in that situation, sort of help the authorities and to admit that you've done something wrong. So I think that certainly helped him in this process, I think. And I'm sure it's helped him mentally as well, deal with what's happened, put it behind him and try and look to a new phase in his life.
And within that report as well, it said that he'd taken a voluntary pay cut, which I guess is worked in terms of mitigation as well for him.
Yeah, it was something he wanted to do. He felt the guilt, and he felt joining a new club that was something he wanted to show the club in good faith, that he was sorry and that he's determined to put it behind him and to try and learn from it. So all really good signs for the future, I think, for us, that we've got a very good human being in the football club, and someone that's keen now to, as I say, put it behind him and try and show all the good that he can do for Newcastle United.
I know you've said a couple of times this season, when you've been decimated by injuries, that watching him out there in the training ground get fitter and stronger every day has been really frustrating. Will it feel like, over the summer, will it feel like almost like having a new signing going into next season? Yeah,
without a doubt, Keith. I think it will be a huge thing for us, because, as you say, we've had him in our training numbers all year, and there's times where you're looking at what you can do with the team and where you can take the team, and you accidentally put him in the team and you go, oh no, we can't flip him out again. So it's been a huge frustration for me to have such a top quality player that you can't use. I know what he can do. I know what a difference he would have made this year, but it wasn't to be. But I think for us and for him, we just hope that from this situation, good comes of it, that he's able to learn and develop to the English style of football, of the Premier League, and ultimately it could be something that he looks back on in a few years' time and goes, actually, do you know what, that helped me settle into England.
Good news on the three players that you've got back in training, bad news on Fabian. Where does Kieran Trippier lie in all of that?
Kieran Trippier lies just slightly behind the guys that have come back, so he hasn't trained this week. He's been away training by himself with our physiotherapist. We anticipate he'll be back next week to train, hopefully. I say that with fingers crossed. And yeah, he could be involved before the end of the season.
And with Fabian, I guess the one area of the pitch you didn't want to lose another player right now is defence. It leaves you very light there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I think especially in the centre-back position, we're lighter than we'd like to be. Of course, with Jamal and Sven and now Fabi missing. But I think Emil Kraft came onto the pitch and I thought played really, really well last week when Fabian went off. And Emil has played in that central position well for us this year. Going back to the Manchester United game in the Carabao Cup, I thought he was outstanding. So it's something he's done before, and I have no doubts over his qualities.
Thanks. Justin?
Eddie, with Fabian obviously out, but then 3 players, does it feel like you take kind of 3 steps forward and 1 step back at times? Is it slightly frustrating for you?
I think it's been like that this season, where we've just about kept our heads above water, really, in terms of being able to put out a really strong 11. So we've lost 1 and got 1 back, and that's been consistent this season. But the 3 quality players we've had back this week, I think, has given the players internally a big lift. 3 outstanding individuals that can make us better. So that's been really good. But of course, to lose Fabian's a disappointment.
Harvey Barnes, Isak and Gordon make you look very dangerous. But can I just ask you about Jacob Murphy and his attitude in particular, because he just seems to seize that opportunity every time you give it to him? Well,
I think the beauty of Murphy is he's different to the other players. He's got incredible professionalism about him on and off the pitch. He's tactically very, very aware, and I think that's his, along with his obvious qualities of his pace and his technical delivery. That's makes him slightly different from most wingers. He's got superb understanding of the game defensively, and also tactically for us, what we ask him to do, I think he delivers to a really high level. So I think he's done very well this season.
Interesting game at Burnley against the manager as well. You've got a lot of respect for by the time.
Yeah, definitely. I tracked his career with real interest, because when you come out of a a club like Manchester City and their playing style. It's interesting to see then how that coach will develop his own playing style, and what he'll do from there. Will it be from his earlier experiences in his career, or will it be from his latter ones? And I think it's probably for Vincent, not speaking for him, but it's probably a mixture of everything. But his teams play a really good style of football, and I think he's very brave in his approach, and a lot of respect for that.
And you're both in very different positions. Talking about approach, does that bring out different traits in managers, coaches, players? One fighting for relegation, one fighting for Europe?
Yeah, well, that's why I say it's slightly unusual in the respect that they're a team fighting relegation, as you say, with every chance of staying up, but playing that expansive, unique style. For us, our style doesn't change. We tweak it from game to game. We'll no doubt tweak it again for Burnley. But we're looking to grow our own identity and make that stronger week in, week out.
Mark?
Morning, Eddie. In the Burnley situation, you've hinted at it, but the Burnley hierarchy could have panicked when it looked like Burnley might, like Sheffield United, get slightly cut adrift. They didn't panic, and who knows, they may yet reap the benefits of that. So is that a lesson for other clubs, do you think?
Yeah, every situation is unique, but I think just with my knowledge of Burnley and the people at Burnley, I think they're a really well-run club. I think great history attached to the club, very proud of their traditions, really loyal supporter base. I always enjoy going back there, having managed there. I enjoy that experience, and I think they should be really proud of what they've done the last few years.
Just a quick one on Sandro. Clearly his experience will have resonated with young players at the club. So have you been able to use him at all in chatting to younger players? I know he's obviously getting on top of his English, but to perhaps hope that young players in the club don't go down the same path.
Yeah, I think it's maybe been a bit early in the process for Sandro to do that, but I think certainly long term that would be something we'll be looking to do. All our players are spoken to regularly by the FA in terms of their conduct and what they can and can't do, because I think that's really important that they're made aware of everything that is out there. But for Sandro individually, I think he's just had enough to deal with himself. But I think, as I say, long term, I'm sure he'll want to give back.
You'll have taken a look at the Chelsea-Tottenham result last night. How do you think it affects the whole European picture?
I don't think it affects anything for us. We know that we're going to have to win games to qualify for Europe. We know it's going to be tight. Top quality teams, Chelsea in a good vein of form. So I think it will go right to the wire.
Thanks, Mark. Damien?
Just on Sandro, I know you've said in the past that the club couldn't possibly have known what was going on in his life. But will this experience perhaps alter the way you do your due diligence, or make you do it in a different way, do you think, in the future?
Yeah, I don't know. Of course, it will make you think and rethink and double check, but I still don't know how you go there. I still don't know how you go to those levels. So I think it's a difficult one to say with certainty that when you sign a player, you're going to know 100% everything that's happening in their life. I think that's impossible. But it'll certainly make us more aware, of course. It'd be stupid if we don't change certain things or try to get as close as we can to making sure that we don't end up in this situation again.
And just on Kieran, he's been such a key player for you in the time he's been here, but in the period he's been out, you've not missed him as much as you might have done. What does that say about the quality and the character of the squad that you have?
Yeah, I think you hope that for every player in every position, in the sense that I'm well aware of how important every player is within the squad, and every player that you pick on game to game has a vital role in you securing, hopefully, a good performance. But if you take one out, you'd love to be able to put a player of equal quality back in. I think that's where we need to get to as a football club, and I think we're well on our way to doing that. I think the players that have played in Kieran's position have done very well. But Kieran has unique strengths that make him the player that he is, and I think we've missed certain aspects of those.
Thank you, David. Go to Lee, Scott, and then Dominic.
And just on Sandro, he's come back there. It should be the third game in the Premier League season. Have you got any plans where you can give him minutes in private games or anything like that?
We're assessing those options. I don't think we have any clarity on that at the moment.
How important is it that he does get something
in terms of minutes in the tank, because you can't really just throw him in out of that 10 minutes out and then.
I think that's the difficulty for him. That's going to be our challenge, because we can work him as hard as we want to individually or in small groups, but when it comes to the bigger area stuff, only games can truly get you match sharp, I believe. So we'll use every tool that we have to try and get him in the best possible physical condition.
Just going into the running, are you striving for perfection, or would you take a couple of results like the Fulham game where you kind of scraped it a little bit?
Yeah, of course you want the two things to merge together. You want the performance and the result. But I think, being honest, if you ask me, I think at this stage we need the results. So we'll take the result over the performance. But I've seen really good signs from us in recent weeks. We haven't been consistent over the 90 minutes, I think, in any game really, apart from Tottenham, where we've been really good through the whole match. But within games, we've been very good at certain stages and maybe not so good in other moments in the matches. And we're looking for that consistency still.
Actually, Scott.
I guess just off the back of Lee there, Eddie, is the plan for Sandro to go to Australia, and do you know yet whether he's able to play in those games?
Too soon to say, Scott.
Okay. In terms of the players coming back, Nick Pope obviously, Martin's done really well at times, I think we'd all agree, but Nick's such a big player in lots of different ways for you. His kind of leadership that he's assumed, shot save, and the way he kind of starts attacks from the back. How much have you missed him, and how important a part of what you do is he?
I think when you have a quality player like Nick, you're going to miss him. But I said the same regarding Kieran. You're going to miss individual players because they have unique skills to them, but that doesn't mean someone else can't come in and still benefit the team and do very well. And I think, as you say, Martin's done very well. Been really pleased with his strength of character. He's the team's had some difficult moments, and Martin's had to go through those periods with the team. But I think he's in recent weeks performed very, very well. The key thing with Nick is Nick's going to have to earn his place back, and I'd say the same for any player in any position. No shirt is given to you. Yeah, you have to earn it, and I think that's really healthy for the group.
And is there any? Nick will clearly want to be in the England squad, and he'll be absolutely desperate to play between now and the end of the season to get into that. Clearly, that doesn't come into your thinking. You're the Newcastle boss, but how difficult is that kind of for him, and how much has that been in his mind to get back for that?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, you'd have to speak to Nick on that personally. I think that I'm well aware of individual needs and aims and dreams and goals. I'm not oblivious to that, but I always have to make the right decision for Newcastle, not for the individual. And I've been very strong on that in previous moments, that it's about our team, our success. And of course, you hope the individuals then within the teams can achieve what they want to do.
Next, Dominic.
Just on Fabian Schär's injury and the lack of defensive options, does that give a player like Alex Murphy or someone like that almost an opportunity to get more minutes or impress in training a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, Alex has been impressive in training. I've been really pleased with him. I think he's been with us all season, near enough. And I think he's grown and developed into a really good defender, very comfortable on the ball. He had a little cameo last week at home, which would be really good for him. Of course, with Fabian's injury, it maybe potentially gives him an opportunity to come into the team, and the likes of Paul Dummett. So we still have some very good players waiting to play.
And what would you say is his best position? Because you've used him at left back, but he's obviously played centrally as well.
Yeah, I think he's versatile. I think he can play in both positions, anything on that left-hand side. But in saying that, now with Fabian's injury, he would probably be the one to shift over to the right as well.
Yeah, and signings like him a key part of your sort of transfer strategy moving forward as well.
Sorry?
Signings like Alex Murphy a key part of your transfer strategy moving forward as well.
Yeah, well, I think if we can sign young players and develop them. I know Alex has come to the club recently, for a really good deal, I think, for us, and we can develop them. That's another part of the transfer strategy we need to use.
Thanks, Dominic. We'll go Chris, Luke, and then Craig.
Morning, Eddie. I mean, you said the other week that the away form was something that going forward you'll need to look at for how it's gone this season. I mean, looking back at how it has been, how do you assess it? Have you uncovered what you think have been the issues?
Yeah, like always with these questions, it's never one I can never sit here and say, well, that's it, that's the reason. It's impossible to say that, but I do think there's probably 5 or 6 things that have contributed to that. Those 5 or 6 things we're aware of, and I think through a combination of coaching, through a combination of player availability, through a combination of various other things, hopefully we can make improvements in that, not just for this season but for next year.
And for you, your first win as Newcastle manager was against Burnley. Tomorrow is going to be your 100th Premier League match here. How do you look back at that time and how it's gone? I think you're 6th in terms of points accrued during that time as a club.
Yeah, it's gone quick. It's gone really quick. It's gone in a blur, really, when you look back. You know, that first win, we were so desperate for it. I remember it very vividly. The final whistle, just looking at the referee, going, please blow the whistle. We felt we needed it. I think the whole club, that was just a big weight off our back, that first win in that season. And then the battle to stay in the Premier League really began, I think. But since then, it's just been a brilliant ride, and we've loved every second of it. And hopefully there's a lot more games to come.
Luke?
Are you worried you've got players at the club who can only thrive with home support?
No, I don't believe that. I can see possibly why you're asking the question. And only we can answer that, us, the players. We have to perform. For me, the big thing is the same. Away from home, at home, we need to see the same Newcastle team. We need to see the same style of play. We need to see the same energy levels, the same desire to win. And we possibly haven't seen that through this season. And we have to answer that for next season for sure.
And you'll be going to this away game, you'll be the favourites to win, but Burnley fighting for their lives. If they get the victory, that's real sort of boost to their survival hopes. Have you got to fight that first, fight fire with fire, as it were, in terms of determination?
Well, certainly they can't. You know, when you look at the opposition, you've got 2 teams. They can't want the game more than us. We have to be very clear to our players that our, as I said, energy levels, motivation levels, body language on the pitch is absolutely right and absolutely where it needs to be. This is a huge game for us. We're under no illusions that we need to try and win the game. Burnley will have the same objective. That's why I think it's set up to be a really good game.
Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. Craig?
I think there's been a lot of factors contributing to what has been a turbulent season for yourselves. You've got the injuries, you've got the playing Champions League football, more matches, everything like that. Has Sandro, has that been the biggest factor of all in terms of that mitigation against the turbulence, the up and down, whatever you want to call it?
We're not looking for that. This season's happened. The experiences we've gone through, we've lived. We don't need any excuses, any mitigation. We just have to accept every challenge that we've faced, deal with it, learn from it, and then try and grow. And I think that's how we've tried to embrace this season. It has been turbulent. There has been a lot happening. It's made interesting viewing for you guys, I'm sure. For us, we would have probably wanted a bit more consistency in everything. But it's the beauty of this game that we're in.
What would Sandro have brought? What have you missed from him?
I think his technical ability. I think his ability to play different positions when you're in a season where you're stretched by injuries. Any player that can be versatile, it can be used in different ways, is hugely important. I think his qualities just as a player, he would have been a big player for us. He would have driven us to, I'm sure, get some key results. And I think the players have felt his loss as well. I think that's been a negative for the players to see him train and then not be able to play. So a combination of those things.
Thank you. Thanks, Craig. Jordan?
I know you don't entertain transfer rumours, but this week you're dealing with Tosson at Fulham, Lloyd Kelly at Bournemouth, 2 players both out of contract this summer. Is the free agent market something you will see exploring this summer?
We're exploring every market. Anything that we can, that we feel benefits us. We're not necessarily looking at the free transfer market in isolation. We're looking at every option, every theme. So I wouldn't say it's exclusive.
Has real benefits to like the FFP, PSR, etc. Like if you can't get free agents over there.
Yeah, I mean, of course we're trying to do good business, and we're not trying to excessively spend money. That would be the same as long as I'm here. You know, we're looking for players that we feel are worth the money clubs potentially put on their heads. So, as I say, it's not exclusive to any theme, but we're always looking for good deals.
And just one on Lewis Hall, started 3 of the last 5 games. Just how much has he improved since you signed him last summer?
Yeah, I think he's doing really well at the moment. I think he's got renewed confidence lift from playing and being involved, which really only that involvement can give you. And I think his game has come on and on the back of that, really, on the confidence of playing. I thought we saw really good signs from him against Sheffield United. I thought he used the ball really well. Did well with the players around him, building those relationships. It's always difficult when you come into the team. So yeah, really happy with him at the moment.
Thanks. Louise?
Hi Eddie.
Hi.
Now, a litany of managers have sat where you are and said that
Have
it's
they?
really, strangely, it's really difficult to attract top players to Newcastle because they don't want to live in the area. I think Rafa Benitez was the only exception who kind of denied that. I mean, I know the takeovers change things, but what are your feelings? Is it extra hard? Do you have to do extra convincing? Thinking of the summer transfer market.
Yeah, I've not experienced that myself. I think we fought pretty well for players. I mean, of course, there's always, when you're trying to sign top players, good players, you're always fighting other clubs. I think that's natural, and some deals we've won, some deals we've lost. I think that's the natural thing I've always gone through with transfers, but I've never experienced, since I've been here, a player not wanting to come to because of the area where the club's situated. I think it's about trying to sell players the complete package, because really the football for me has to be the most important thing. If a player's thinking of other things, then maybe they're not the right fit for us. It's about what we can offer them on the football pitch, how we can develop their careers. So there's a host of reasons that go into it.
And European football is obviously an attraction, but there's a difference between the Europa League and the Conference League. So how important is it to get into the Europa League, and can the Conference be seen as something of a poison chalice that it would be better to avoid?
It's not a poison chalice for me. We would really value European qualification of any sort. Of course, we would want to go into the higher competition if we can, and that's our goals currently. So we're not looking at that as a negative at all, because we still have to achieve it, and it's going to be very difficult to do.